Hey, what's going on everyone? Sam here from Lake Pro Tackle. Guys, today I'm going to be showing y'all how I like to break down a pond with a little finesse flipping jig just like this one. This was made by Armstrong Outfitters Tackle. Kirk Armstrong makes up an awesome flipping jig, chatterbaits, swim jigs, and a whole lot more stuff, including crankbaits and glide baits. So if you want to check out his stuff here at the store, we've got a bunch of exclusives only found at Lake Pro Tackle. Head over to the website or come in store here to find some of his awesome products. This little flipping jig here, we're gonna go break down this pond. I'm gonna show you how I like to fish it. These fish here, the water temps are probably in the low to mid 50s, so just about pre-spawn. The fish should be moving up a little bit to go make their beds, do their thing, and should be feeding up pretty good. I just caught one and the fish are still a little chilly, so we're gonna try to break down this pond. The sun's shining today, it's a beautiful day. I'm gonna show y'all how I like to break apart a pond with a little jig like this. So hopefully we get some more bites here. Stay tuned guys, this should be a good one. Y'all, so I just caught that one fish right behind me on this little rocky section of this pond. I am here at Lake Pro Tackle, so this is where we do a lot of testing with all of our rods, reels, and tackle that come in. And you know, I was just flipping this little jig around and that fish was sitting right on that grass line kind of. So what I'm really trying to do is find areas where those fish can sun and get a little bit warmer, and possibly where there might be a little more bait. So the reason why I chose that little grass line is because they can stay in a little bit deeper water off the bank as well as stay in that sun. So they're achieving two things. They're staying in the sunlight to stay warm, and they're also right next to that deeper water in case at nighttime when it does get a little bit colder, they can move off into that cooler water. And what's awesome too is we have a lot of pond products in this pond here made by Pond King, including some brush pile stuff, some shrubs. If you're interested in any of those products and you have a pond or a lake house or a dock or something, let us know. We can get you in touch with the people who can set you up with some awesome artificial habitat. So what I'm gonna be doing here, I'm gonna just flip this jig right back into that grass area and see if we can get bit. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw it out there. I'm just gonna let it sink down. It's a very light jig. It's around a 3/16 to a 1/4 ounce jig. And that's really to allow it to freely move around and sit on the bottom. And as those fish, they're not really moving too much right now, but that jig, it slowly moves around and allows me to cover a lot of water very effectively without having to move the jig a lot. So we're gonna try to get a fish here. Just gonna drag it through that grass line. And it's definitely getting moved around a lot. So I'm gonna try over by the dock. We've got a couple floating structure on the dock here. It's gonna sink down very slowly. This is a little muddier pond here, so I've got to make sure to let this jig sit and have a lot brighter colors than I typically would have in a normal pond. So I'm using a little more chartreuse and black. There's a lot of rock in this pond, not too much silt. There's a little more silt over on the other side of the pond in the deeper section. But right now we're focusing on the shallow stuff here. And if you're curious what rod I'm using the Daiwa Kage. This is the frog rod, 7'4" heavy. Got one. Whew. Just like that. Just let it sit right under the dock. Got it right in the top of the mouth, just like that. Tim's coming out here because he saw me catch that fish. Tim, look at how white that fish is.
Yeah, it's definitely matching the color of the water.
Yeah, little 1.5 pounder there.
Is that the only one?
Huh? Yep.
On the dock?
Yep, right under the dock actually, in the shallow section. So that fish setting up, get ready to spawn. Just flip this little jig under there, let it sit. All I was doing, I was letting that wind push it down because it's such a light jig. It's like a 1/4 ounce. So I let that wind push it down and I'm just feeling it tick through those rocks.
I think maybe, I wish we had a thermometer.
That would be nice.
Tell you what the pond temperature is today.
Right, so there you go guys. I already caught a fish, feeling excited.
Almost 2 fish away from a 5 fish limit.
I know. That one would have kept. It was probably 14 and a half. Yeah, so I'm just pulling this jig along, slack line, and I'm really waiting for it to get heavy. Just dragging up a little hole there. A lot of things go into when I pick a jig out and kind of what type of jig I like to use. You know, on lakes and stuff, when the fishing is very tough, I will typically use something like a ball head finesse jig. If I'm fishing a pond like this, it has a little vegetation in it still. It's not really a live vegetation, but vegetation nonetheless that I can get caught up in. A flipping head, like this one here that Kirk makes, comes a lot easier through that vegetation than something like a ball head finesse jig would be, which is much more attuned to something like rocks and, you know, flat bottom. So this little pointed jig head is going to be much easier to get through all this vegetation. So I think here in a little bit I'm going to go over to the bay to my right here and then poke around there. There's a little shallow section, a couple reeds, and I'm going to take y'all with me here. All right, y'all, I'm in this little corner here. Now, what's really cool about these little corners is that these fish can really get tight up into this cover. You know, it's starting to warm up. I hear some birds going in those reeds there, but these reeds are dead. So I'm not gonna mark them off my list, you know, in this pre-spawn time, but generally these fish should be out in the channel on the grass line. So we're gonna go ahead and pitch into these, see if we can get a bite. Look at that, first pitch into the reeds. So a lot of the times, see this guy here? See how small this fish is? It's not a female bass. And typically in the pre-spawn time, the male bass are gonna get much shallower than the female bass starting off. So this one here tells me that these males are starting to push up. The females should be out in the middle, just looking for some more food and feeding up for winter. But that one there, not a bad one, another 14-incher. So we've got a couple of fish today working on a little sack. And again, I'm just letting it sit out there, really. Let the wind kind of do everything. If you do need to pick up your slack or move it, I'm just gonna give it a quick twitch, let it go back down, do its thing. All right, so now that I hit those reeds a little bit, I'm gonna move over here. There's a little grass line moving on this little covered section of the pond. So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna take this little jig here. You can always fish it parallel to the bank. I can go on that other side. I really just wanna stay here. But the best way to fish this is I'm gonna put it right on that grass line, start to pull it off slowly, and those fish should be sitting right there. So here we go. Put it right on that grass line. And a lot of the times they'll be nosed up into that grass. The grass has a lot more oxygen in it, and it allows that fish to really get up there shallow and warm up and stay very safe. You know, largemouth bass, you know, they're very top predators in terms of a pond habitat. So there's not a lot of things that can eat them living in the pond, but birds like hawks, vultures, they can come down from above and get those fish. So they want to stay as camouflaged as possible, typically staying within those grass lines. Again, just put it out in that grass, let it sink down, let it do its thing. This rod, again, is very sensitive, so I can feel little rocks down there. I can feel the bottom go down as I'm pulling. Oh, almost, I thought I just had a bite there. Oh, do have a bite. There we go. This one is not a keeper. But if you look at his eyes right there, look how red his eyes are, guys. One thing you want to notice too is that I could tell that the jig had a little pond muck on it. So I'm gonna pull that off. I'm gonna make a risky cast underneath this tree here. So right there, I'm gonna try this cast here, so bear with me. There we go. Give it some slack, let it sink down, put it right under that tree. I'm gonna fish this again with slack in the line. It's very, very important when you're fishing something as light as this jig, so that way it just goes straight down to the bottom instead of pulling it in towards you. You're gonna cover a lot more water, a lot more efficiently doing this technique here. Just give it a quick tug, let it go back down. So, you know, as I'm fishing, looking around, one thing I do want to note is that the wind is pushing from the south to the north side of this bank, or this pond. And a lot of the time what happens is when you get wind pushing into a portion of a pond, that windier section generally is going to have a lot more fish in it. I think the quality of the fish will get better on the less windy side for whatever reason. You know, those big fish don't want to chase around bait, which is what that wind is doing. That wind's pushing the bait up into that other section. Now, there's not a lot of wind today, but when there is a little more wind, a little stronger wind, they will get pushed into that other section. So we're gonna keep moving down here into the deepest part of the pond. We're gonna see what we can do. There we go. That was second cast, guys, right down that same area. Look how he ate that one, right there. That's awesome. Yes, I am. I got one. Oh my gosh. Jill, this one's big. Oh. Alright guys, we just stumbled upon one of those pre-spawners. It's up by that brush pile. Not gonna flip that one. But right there, that fish was off on that brush pile. Like I said, bigger ones are gonna be off in that deeper water off the channel. Let that jig just soak there for a little bit, and you know, patience is rewarded right there. There's about a 4.5, almost 5 pounder. So there we go. You can see her belly is getting full here, and hopefully she'll be laying some eggs pretty soon. So that's super awesome. We're gonna end it on that one, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'm gonna put this fish back real quick. There we go. Again, check out Armstrong Outfitters Tackle. Kirk is an amazing guy, hand ties all these jigs, so check him out, lakeprotackle.com, and you can also get them in store. We've got a bunch of cool stuff as well, if you're willing to check those out. So stop by, guys, check out the worm bar, and we will catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Back in the same spot, starting spot, guys.